Microorganisms. Learning objectives. Discovery of microorganisms. Habitat of microorganisms. Culture of microorganisms. Classification of microorganisms. Bacteria, algae, fungi, viruses, protozoa. Food preservation. Food poisoning. Commercial uses of microorganisms. Medicinal uses of microorganisms. Vaccine. Some other uses of microorganisms. Disease-causing microorganisms in human beings. Carrier of disease-causing microorganisms. Disease-causing microorganisms in animals. Nitrogen fixation. Nitrogen cycle. There is diversity in living organisms. We find a large variety of living organisms all around us. These may be identified as crows, pigeons, dogs, lizards, cows, mango trees or rose plants. However, we do not notice that there are a larger number of living organisms around us and inside our body that we cannot see with the naked eyes. If a drop of water from a pond is taken and observed carefully, we cannot find any living organism, but when seen through a microscope, we see small organisms called microorganisms or microbes. Thus, microorganisms can be defined as tiny organisms that cannot be seen with the naked eye and can be seen only under a microscope. The branch of science that deals with the study of microorganisms is called microbiology. The scientists who study microorganisms are known as microbiologists. These organisms have a great impact on the human beings. Some can cause illness whereas others can cause diseases. Some supply us with food whereas others spoil food. We need to be aware of the good and bad effects of these organisms on our lives. When we understand these organisms, we can maximize their positive effects and control their negative effects. Discovery of microorganisms. Anton van Leeuwenhoek was the first to observe microscopic plants such as bacteria and other microorganisms under the microscope. Louis Pasteur, the father of bacteriology, discovered that the microorganisms present in the air cause fermentation of some food products leading to their spoilage. He also concluded that microorganisms may cause a number of harmful diseases. Disease-causing microorganisms are called pathogens. The electron microscope can be used to observe very minute objects. It can magnify the size of the object by more than even 2 lakh times. Microorganisms are found everywhere in air, water, soil and inside other living organisms. Initially it was thought that all the microorganisms are harmful and cause diseases. Later on scientists discovered that only a handful of microorganisms are harmful and cause diseases. Most of the microorganisms are useful to us. Microorganisms play an important role in our lives. Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Louis Pasteur. Habitat of microorganisms. Microorganisms are of different kinds and are found everywhere in all kinds of environmental like hot deserts or polar ice caps. The air, clothes, skin, fingernail scraping are gut shelter of microorganisms. When pathogenic microorganisms enter the body it causes disease and fecal materials of sick person contain many pathogenic microorganisms. Many insects contaminate our food materials. Thus, microorganisms are found practically everywhere. They are present in soil, water, water bodies, outer space, on the surface and inside the bodies of animals including humans. They also occur in dead and decomposed organic matter, plant and animal matter. Activity 2.1. We can show the presence of microorganisms in soil and water by performing the following activities. 1. Collect some moist soil from the field in a beaker and add water to it. After the soil particles have settled down, observe a drop of water from the beaker under a microscope. We will see tiny organisms moving around. This observation shows that soil contains microorganisms. 2. Take a few drops of water from a pond. Spread this water on a clean glass slide and observe through a microscope. We will see some tiny organisms moving around. This observation shows that the pond water contains microorganisms. Culture of microorganisms. The growth of microorganisms in the laboratory is known as culture. Solutions of chemicals which support the growth of microorganisms are called cultural medium. A culture medium, potato dextrose agar, can be prepared in laboratory. Activity 2.2. Method for preparing culture medium. Take 200 gram of potato tubers, wash them properly, cut them into pieces and boil. When they become soft, crush them and allow the paste to cool. Add 500 milliliters distilled water and 20 grams glucose to the paste. Take 20 grams of plain agar, boil it and then mix with potato glucose solution. Store the mixture in proper containers. The PDA is ready and can be used to culture microorganisms in test tubes and petri dishes. Classification of microorganisms. Microorganisms are broadly classified into 5 major groups. 1. Bacteria, singular, bacterium. 2. Algae, singular, alga. 3. Fungi, singular, fungus. 4. Viruses, singular, virus. 5. Protozoa, singular, protozoan. 1. Bacteria. Habitat. These are unicellular organisms which are found in air, water, soil, food products, even inside as well as the surface of living organisms. Size and structure. The size of a bacterium can be as small as 1.25 millimeters. The smallest is a rod-shaped bacterium measuring 0.15 millimeters. The largest is spiral-shaped, measuring up to 15 millimeters in length and 1.5 millimeters in diameter. An important characteristic of bacteria is that the single cell they are made up of does not have a nucleus. The material enclosed within the nucleus in other cells is scattered in a bacterial cell. Their cells often possess a hard cell wall. Each bacterial cell can exist as a single unit, but sometimes they cling together to form chains or groups. Shape. Rod-shaped, bacillus. These are rod-shaped bacteria which have one or more flagella. The bacteria causing typhoid fever is called Salmonella typhi. The bacteria causing curdling of milk is called Lactobacillus. Cocci, singular coccus. These bacteria are spherical in shape. They are found in 3 arrangements. A. In pairs, Diplococcus. B. In chain, Streptococcus. C. In groups, Staphylococcus. Spirilla. These bacteria are spiral-shaped. The spiral-shaped bacterium causing sexually transmitted disease syphilis is Treponema. Vibrio. These are comma-shaped and cause cholera. Nutrition. Most bacteria cannot make their own food, except for some. Sci facts. Bacteria have been reported as surviving in the way for 4,800 years in the stonework of Peruvian pyramids, for 11,000 years in the gut of a mastodon preserved in a peat bog in Ohio, and for 18 months on the surface of the useful bacteria. Bacteria help by decomposing the tissues of the dead organisms to get their food. Without bacteria, heaps of dead organisms would cover the earth. The organic matter gets decomposed by bacteria. The tissues of plant and animal are broken into simple substances, which are restored to the soil. Thus, the nutrients that were taken from the soil by plants and animals are restored and are used by living organisms. Some bacteria live in the roots of plants such as gram, pea, bean, etc. These bacteria absorb nitrogen from the atmosphere and convert it into nitrates, which serve as natural fertilizers for plants. Some bacteria decompose sewage and other wastes in water. This is nature's method of keeping environment free from pollution. Certain bacteria normally live in the digestive tract of animals such as cows, goats and sheep. They help the animals to digest grass and plants by breaking down the cellulose which the animals cannot digest by themselves. Bacteria help us in making certain foods. Lactobacillus is a bacterium that sours milk and is used to make curd. Vinegar is also produced by the action of bacteria. Bacteria are used to make medicines called antibiotics. They are also used to make vitamin B complex. Bacteria are useful in tobacco, leather and jute industries. Tanning, processing of leather is done with the help of bacteria. In jute industry, jute plants are submerged in water, where bacterial action separates the fibers from the rest of the tissues. The fibers are then woven into jute clothes. Bacteria also help in the breakdown of plant and animal wastes in the absence of oxygen to produce the biogas methane, which is used as fuel for cooking. A new bacterium has been produced which acts on the oil spill in the sea and decomposes it. This bacterium has been produced by genetic engineering. Making of curd. Milk is turned into curd by bacteria. In order to make curd, a little pre-made curd is added to warm milk and set aside for some time. Curd contains several microorganisms including Lactobacillus bacterium. Plural of Lactobacillus is Lactobacilli. Lactobacilli bacteria promote the formation of curd from milk. When a little amount of pre-made curd is added to warm milk, then Lactobacilli bacteria present in curd multiply in milk and convert it into curd. This happens as follows. Milk contains a sugar called lactose. Lactobacilli bacteria convert the lactose sugar into lactic acid. This lactic acid then converts milk into curd. We can now say that the microorganism utilized in making curd from milk is bacterium, or bacteria. The name of this bacterium is Lactobacillus. An important ingredient of idlis and bhaturas is curd. Curd is added in making idlis and bhaturas to make them soft and spongy. Bacteria are also involved in the making of cheese, pickles, and many other food items. Harmful bacteria. Bacteria may prove to be harmful in the following ways. 1. Bacteria are responsible for the spoilage of food products like the souring of milk, putrefaction of meat, rotting of fruits and vegetables. 2. Many diseases like tuberculosis, typhoid, cholera, whooping cough etc. are caused by bacteria. Some bacteria cause diseases by damaging living tissues in the body. Others give out highly poisonous substances which harm the body. 3. Bacteria also cause diseases in plants, spoilage of food like fungi on bread. Diseases caused by bacteria. Disease, symptoms, preventive measures. Typhoid, fever, dry cough, can be prevented by proper sewage disposal. Cholera, diarrhea, dehydration, can be prevented by clean water supply and clean food. Tuberculosis, coughing and damage to lungs. BCG vaccine should be given to develop natural immunity against the disease. Whooping cough, long bouts of coughing may end with a whoop or a vomiting. DPT vaccine prevents the disease. Diphtheria, a white layer forms in the throat which may block the respiratory tract. It produces a poisonous substance which damages the heart and nervous system. DPT vaccine prevents the disease. Tetanus, muscles of the neck, back and limbs tighten and the jaw may lock. DPT vaccine prevents the disease. 2. Algae. The term algae refers to simple plant-like organisms which have cell walls and chlorophyll within the cells. They make their own food by photosynthesis. They do not have root, stem or leaves. They flourish in streams, ponds, lakes and in vast stretches of the oceans of the world. Some algae are found in snow and some in hot springs. They also grow in moist soil, barks of trees and rock surfaces. Size and structure. Algae can be unicellular or multicellular. Their size ranges from 1 micron to 60-meter long seaweeds. There are 4 main kinds of algae. Common name, scientific name. I. Red algae, Polysyphonia. 2. Green algae, Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Chlorella, Volvox. 3. Brown algae, Fucus, Laminaria. 4. Blue-green algae, Nostoc, Oscillatoria, Anabana. The Red Sea looks reddish due to the red algae that floats on its surface. You may have noticed algae as a layer of scum floating on the surface of water in a pond, lake or any other stagnant water body. These also grow on the sides of swimming pools, fish tanks and water tanks, which are not cleaned for a long time. These are normally a type of blue-green algae called Spirogyra, K. Blue-green algae, red algae, green algae, brown algae. Useful algae. Algae have the following uses. 1. Food. Some seaweeds are used as food in China and Japan. Some substances obtained from algae are used to thicken foods, such as ice cream and jellies. Algae are important as food to animals such as fish and snails. Scientists believe that in times to come algae can be made an important substitute for food for human beings. 2. For oxygen. Since algae are helpful in photosynthesis, they give out oxygen. It is thought that most of the oxygen that we have in the atmosphere was initially produced by the algae of the oceans. The blue-green algae have the ability to fix nitrogen gas of atmosphere. 3. In industry, brown and red algae are very useful in industry. Iodine and potassium are obtained from kelps. Some red algae are used in laboratory for growing microorganisms. The carbohydrate algin is obtained from a marine algae. It is used in manufacturing shaving creams, artificial fabrics and medicines. Diatoms. Diatoms are macroscopic algae that occur in springs, estuaries and oceans. They are unicellular and may be found in colonial and filamentous form also. Large deposits of diatom shells containing silica found on the ocean floor are used in making metal polish, toothpaste, and special kinds of glasses and pots. 3. Fungi. Fungi are plants which lack chlorophyll and cannot synthesize their own food by photosynthesis. Habitat. Fungi grow in a variety of habitats such as stale bread, damp clothes, old shoes, moist tree trunks, leather goods and on food products such as cheese, bread slice, etc. Fungi grow best in dark, warm and damp places and can withstand extreme temperatures. Uses of fungi. As described below, fungi are used in many ways. Fungi help in decomposition of plant and animal wastes, thus enriching the soil with nutrients. The mushrooms such as some toadstools are edible. However, many toadstools are poisonous. Therefore, it is important to check whether the mushrooms are suitable for eating or not. Fungi such as yeast are used in the preparation of bread. The yeast causes the dough to ferment. In this process, the carbohydrates are broken down and carbon dioxide is released, causing the dough to rise. This makes the bread soft and fluffy. Yeast is also used in curing cocoa beans. Ethyl alcohol is manufactured by fermentation of potatoes, molasses, etc. The fermentation of barley leads to the preparation of beer, while wine is prepared by fermentation of grapes. Certain medicines are made from the fungi. The wonder drug penicillin comes from the species of mold called Penicillium. Making of bread. Yeast is used in the baking industry for making bread. When yeast is mixed in dough for making bread, the yeast reproduces rapidly and gives out carbon dioxide gas during respiration. The bubbles of carbon dioxide gas fill the dough and increase its volume. This makes the bread rise. The holes in the bread are due to the bubbles of carbon dioxide given off during the baking process. This makes the bread light, soft and spongy. For the same reason, yeast is also used in making cakes and pastries. We can perform an activity to demonstrate the action of yeast in the making of bread as follows. Activity 2.3. Take half a kilogram of white maida, add some sugar and mix with warm water. Then add a small amount of yeast powder and knead the mixture of white flour, sugar, yeast powder and water to make a soft dough. See figure 1. Keep this dough aside for about 2 hours. We will find that the 1. This is freshly prepared dough containing yeast powder. 2. Carbon dioxide produced by yeast has caused the dough to expand and rise. Volume of dough has increased. See figure 2. We say that the dough rises. From this discussion we conclude that yeast is the microorganism used in making bread, cakes and pastries. Yeast is a fungus. Harmful fungi. Fungi spoil food by fermentation and thus make it unit for human consumption. For instance, fungi such as molds may grow on fruits and vegetables and thus ferment them. Plant diseases. Fungi also cause a large number of diseases in plants and animals. The mildews damage plants such as grapes, gooseberries, wheat, barley etc., leading to retardation of plant growth and lower yield of grains in crop plants. The symptoms of mildew infection include whitish patches on the surface of the leaves of the infected plants. The blight disease of potato is a fungal disease in which the cells of potato tuber are destroyed and the entire surface of the leaves is covered with brown spots. It is worth knowing that a severe fungus, Alternaria solani, in potato crop in Ireland in 1845-46, destroyed the entire crop of potato. Human diseases. Ringworm and athlete's foot are some of the human diseases caused by fungi. 4. Virus. Viruses are much smaller than bacteria. They do not show most of the characteristics of living things. For example, viruses do not respire, grow, feed, excrete, or move on their own. Harmful viruses. As a virus spreads, it damages tissues and causes disease. Different viruses attack different cells. For example, the common cold virus attacks cells in the nose and throat. Rabies virus attacks nerve cells in the brain, while poliomyelitis enters the nerve cells of skeletal muscles. The yellow fever virus enters the cells of the mammalian liver. The leaf mosaic virus enters and damages the outer cells of a leaf. Viruses cause disease in humans, animals, plants, and insects. A virus that invades bacteria is known as bacteriophage. All viruses do not reproduce. Some stay viruses and wait for a few years. Then suddenly, they become active and start multiplying. If they are outside the living body, they usually survive for a short time. Viruses cannot grow outside the living cells. Thus, in the laboratory they can only be grown in living plants and animals such as hen's eggs, and duck embryos etc. This is called tissue culture. Some diseases caused by viruses. Disease. Symptoms. Remarks. Mumps. Painful swelling near the jaw on one or both sides. Mumps in males over the age of the 11th of may affect the testes, but rarely result in sterility. Chicken pox. Small red spots which turn severe in adults. The same virus causes shingles, a mild disease in children. Rabies. Paralysis. The throat muscles tighten so that it is impossible even to breathe. Fever. Delirium. Convulsions. Rabies can infect all animals, foxes, bats, etc., but is only a serious risk to people if domestic animals are infected. 5. Protozoa. The word protozoan, singular, literally means the first animal. Protozoa are unicellular organisms that exhibit animal-like characteristics. Structure of different protozoa. Amoeba. Amoeba is the simplest form of protozoa. It is a unicellular microscopic organism. It is irregular in shape. The outermost covering is the cell membrane which extends to form the organ of locomotion called pseudopodia or false feet. Amoeba catches its prey such as algae, bacteria, etc. with the help of its pseudopodia. The food material is digested with the help of enzymes secreted by the food vacuole. Paramecium. In paramecium, the cell membrane is covered with tiny hair-like structures called cilia which help it to swim in water as well as to catch the prey. The food material enters the mouth, then oral groove, and finally goes into the main body to be digested by the food vacuole. Euglena. It is the protozoa which exhibits both plant and animal characteristics. The outermost covering is the cell membrane and it contains chloroplast. It can prepare its own food by photosynthesis. Food preservation. Most of the food materials consumed by us are equally useful to microorganisms. These microorganisms easily grow in the presence of moisture and suitable temperature. This results in a major loss as large quantities of perishable food materials are spoiled. The wastage of perishable food materials can be minimized to a large extent by using appropriate techniques of food preservation. Food preservation is the process of treating and handling food with an aim to stop or slow down its spoilage while maintaining its nutritional value, texture and flavor. Methods of food preservation. Let us learn various methods that are employed in food preservation. Boiling. Boiling food items can kill any existing microbes. Milk and water are common examples of food items that are boiled to kill microbes. Dehydration. It is the process of removing water from fruits and vegetables. It results in the decrease of moisture content. Sun-drying is a popular method of preserving food materials such as cereals, pulses, spices and dry fruits, etc. Deep freezing. Refrigeration at low temperatures and freezing prevent to the bacterial growth and inactivating enzymes. Therefore, the food materials can retain their nutritive value for a longer time. This method is used for storing fresh fruits, vegetables, meat and fish. Chemical preservation. The chemical substances added to food items to control microbial growth are called chemical preservatives. Examples of chemical preservatives are sodium benzoate and potassium metabisulfite. This method is employed in the preservation of fruit juice, jams, squashes, etc. Vinegar and mustard oil. Vinegar, sirka, and mustard oil are most often used as preservatives in the preservation of fruits and vegetables in the form of pickles, achar. These are used as preservatives for preserving fruits such as raw mango, amla and lemon, chilies, etc., in the form of their pickles. Pasteurization. This is an excellent method of preserving food. A French scientist named Louis Pasteur gave this method. The method of pasteurization is used for the preservation of milk in big milk dairies, and it involves the process of heating, followed by quick cooling. Pasteurized milk can be consumed without boiling because it is free from harmful microorganisms. Canning. It involves the cooking of foodstuff and then storing in sterilized tin containers. Salting. The method of adding sufficient amount of salt to preserve food is called salting. It is added for the preservation of raw mango, amla, beans, fish, etc. Sugar. Sugar reduces the moisture content from the fruits which inhibits the growth of microorganisms like bacteria which spoil the fruits, etc. It is used as a preservative in making jams and jellies from fruits. Packing in airtight packets. These days, dry fruits and even vegetables are sold in sealed, airtight packets to prevent the attack of microorganisms on them. This helps the dry fruits and vegetables to remain unspoiled for a longer time. Pulses dehydration. Foods in freeze. Jam chemical preservation. Canning food. Salted mango. Expiry dates. You may have noticed that most of the packed food items that you purchase from the shop have best before or expiry dates on them. Expiry date refers to the date before which the supplier intended the food to be consumed. Food poisoning. If the food is not covered properly, stored properly or preserved properly, then it gets spoiled by the action of microorganisms, such as bacteria and fungi, on it. Microorganisms that grow on our food sometimes produce toxic substances, poisonous substances. The food spoiled in this manner starts giving foul smell and bad taste. Its color may also change. If such a food is eaten, it will lead to food poisoning, the disease caused due to the presence of a large number of microorganisms, like bacteria and fungi, in the food, or due to the presence of toxic substances in food formed by the action of microorganisms, is called food poisoning. Thus, food poisoning occurs due to the consumption of food spoiled by some microorganisms. The major symptoms of food poisoning are vomiting, diarrhea, loose motions, pain in abdomen, headache and fever. Food poisoning can cause serious illness and even death. The microorganisms, like bacteria and fungi, which cause food poisoning come into food from the air, dirty hands, unclean food containers, flies, cockroaches, insects, rats, or sick farm animals. The two most common examples of bacteria which cause food poisoning are bacteria Salmonella and bacteria Clostridium botulinum. An example of fungus which causes food poisoning is Aspergillus. The spoiling of food is a chemical change. Food is a very precious material. It should not be allowed to get spoiled, become useless, and cause food poisoning, etc. We preserve food to prevent it from getting spoiled. Commercial use of microorganisms. Microorganisms are used for the large-scale production of alcohol and acetic acid, vinegar. Yeast is the microorganism which is used for the large-scale production of alcohol. This alcohol is then used in making wine, beer and whiskey as well as industrial spirit. So, we can now say that yeast is used to produce alcoholic drinks, such as wine, beer, whiskey, etc., and industrial spirit. Yeast is capable of converting sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. The sugar for making alcohol comes from substances such as cane juice and fruit juices, or from substances such as barley, maize, rice, etc. that contain starch which gets converted into sugar. The process of conversion of sugar into alcohol by the action of yeast is called fermentation. Fermentation was discovered by Louis Pasteur in 1857. In order to make alcohol, yeast is grown on natural sugars present in grains like barley, maize, rice, cane juice and fruit juices, etc. Yeast converts sugar into alcohol. This alcohol is then used for various purposes. We can carry out the process of alcoholic fermentation in the laboratory by Activity 2.4. Activity 2.4. Take a 500 ml beaker and fill it 3/4 with water. Dissolve 2 or 3 teaspoonfuls of sugar in it. Add half a teaspoonful of yeast powder to the sugar solution. Cover the beaker and allow the mixture of sugar solution and yeast powder to stand in a warm place for 4 to 5 hours. Now, smell the solution. We will get a characteristic pleasant smell coming from the beaker. This is the smell of alcohol, because sugar has been converted into alcohol by yeast. Now taste the solution from the beaker. We will get a burning taste. This burning taste is due to the formation of alcohol. A dilute solution of acetic acid is called vinegar. Bacteria can turn alcohol into acetic acid, or vinegar. In order to produce acetic acid, or vinegar, on a large scale, first alcohol is made by using yeast. The acetobacter bacteria are then added to alcohol and air is bubbled through it. In the presence of oxygen, of air, acetobacter bacteria convert alcohol into acetic acid, or vinegar. Medicinal use of microorganisms. The source of antibiotic medicines are microorganisms. A medicine which stops the growth of, or kills the disease-causing microorganisms is called an antibiotic. The antibiotics are manufactured by growing specific microorganisms, and used to cure a number of diseases. These days, a large number of antibiotics are being produced from microorganisms such as fungi and bacteria. Some of the common antibiotics which are made from fungi and bacteria are penicillin, streptomycin, erythromycin, and tetracycline. Nowadays, many antibiotics are also being made synthetically. Many different antibiotics are also being made synthetically. Many different antibiotics are now available to treat a wide variety of diseases caused by pathogenic microorganisms. Antibiotics kill the disease-causing microorganisms but usually do not damage human body cells. The first antibiotic penicillin was discovered by chance and extracted from the tiny fungus, a mold, called Penicillium. In 1929, Alexander Fleming was cultivating a culture of disease-causing bacteria. Suddenly he found the spores of a little green fungus in one of his culture plates. He noticed that the presence of tiny green fungus stopped the growth of disease-causing bacteria. In fact, it also killed many of the disease-causing bacteria. From this fungus, or mold, called Penicillium, the antibiotic penicillin was made. Thus, penicillin is an antibiotic medicine which is made from the fungus Penicillium. Penicillin controls bacterial and fungal infections. Antibiotics are used to treat many diseases in humans. Whenever we fall ill, the doctor may give us some antibiotic tablets, capsules or injection, such as penicillin. Antibiotics are very effective in curing diseases caused by microorganisms such as bacteria and fungi. Antibiotics are, however, not effective against diseases caused by viruses. For example, antibiotics cannot be used to cure diseases like common cold, flu, and viral fever because these are caused by viruses. Some of the precautions to be observed in the use of antibiotics are as follows. 1. Antibiotics should be taken only on the advice of a qualified doctor. 2. A person must complete the full course of antibiotics prescribed by the doctor. 3. The antibiotics should be taken in proper doses as advised by the doctor. If a person takes antibiotics in wrong doses, or when not needed, it may make the antibiotics less effective when the person might need it in future. 4. Antibiotics should not be taken unnecessarily. Antibiotics taken unnecessarily may kill the useful bacteria in the body and harm us. Antibiotics can be used to treat many diseases in animals. Antibiotics are even mixed with the feed of livestock, cattle like cows, buffaloes, etc., and poultry birds to control microbial diseases in animals. Antibiotics are also used to control many plant diseases. Vaccine. We know that microorganisms are used to make medicines called antibiotics which can cure many diseases in human beings, animals and plants. Microorganisms are also used to make vaccines. A vaccine is a special kind of preparation, or medicine, which provides immunity, or protection, against a particular disease. Vaccines are given to healthy persons so that they may not get certain diseases throughout their life, even if they are exposed to the pathogens of these diseases later on in life. These days vaccines are made on a large scale from microorganisms to protect human beings and other animals from several diseases. A vaccine contains the dead or weakened but alive microorganisms of a disease, which are harmless and do not actually give a disease. When the vaccine containing dead or alive microorganisms is introduced into the body of a healthy person orally, by mouth, or by injection, the body of that person responds by producing some substances called antibodies in its blood. These antibodies kill any alive disease-causing microorganisms present in the vaccine. Some of the antibodies remain in the blood of the person for a very long time and fight against the same microorganisms and kill them if they happen to enter the body naturally at a later date, when the person is exposed to disease. So, due to the presence of antibodies in the blood, a person remains protected from that particular disease. Thus, a vaccine develops the immunity from a disease. A number of diseases can be prevented by vaccination. For keeping good health, we must prevent the diseases by vaccination at the proper time. Since children are more susceptible to diseases, So all the children should be vaccinated at proper ages to provide them immunity from certain diseases. The diseases which can be prevented by vaccination of children at proper age are polio, smallpox, cholera, typhoid, hepatitis, tuberculosis TB, tetanus, measles, rabies, diphtheria and pertussis or whooping cough. To develop the fighting capability in the body to a disease is called immunization. After getting vaccinated, the child becomes immune to a particular disease. This means that the child becomes protected against that disease. He will never get that disease. Edward Jenner discovered the vaccine for smallpox in 1798. A worldwide campaign against smallpox has finally led to its eradication from most parts of the world, under the National Health Program. In our country, the vaccines for several diseases are given free of cost at all the government health centers. Polio disease is prevented by giving oral polio vaccine, OPV. Many times we see advertisements on TV and in newspapers to protect the children from polio under the Pulse Polio program by giving them polio drops. The polio drops given to children are actually a vaccine. India fights COVID. Today, we all know how helpful vaccines are in saving lives. Vaccination starts right from the time of birth. Each year millions of lives can be saved by the use of vaccine. India stood against the toughest challenge of fighting the global epidemic, COVID-19, by indigenously preparing two vaccines, Covishield and Covaxin. It is the largest vaccination drive across the country. This once again proved that our country has not lagged behind manufacturing vaccines. Though many countries have developed vaccines to fight against SARS-CoV-2, India has produced vaccines at an affordable price to reach the common people. In fact, Indian Serum Institute's Covishield was also called as the vaccine for the world. The government took some strong steps to reduce the spread of the virus, starting with temperature screening to imposing a national lockdown. The use of masks at public places and maintaining a social distance was made compulsory during this period. In January 2021, the Indian government launched the Vaccine Maitri initiative. Under this program, India supplied indigenously built vaccines to many countries across the. Some other uses of microorganisms. Increasing soil fertility. Some of the microorganisms present in the soil can fix nitrogen gas from the atmosphere to form nitrogen compounds. These nitrogen compounds mix with the soil and increase the fertility of soil. For example, some bacteria and blue-green algae are able to fix nitrogen gas from the atmosphere to enrich the soil with nitrogen compounds and increase its fertility. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria and blue-green algae are called biological nitrogen fixers. The nitrogen-fixing blue-green algae are shown in figure. Since blue-green algae store in them nitrogen compounds made by nitrogen fixation, they are used. Since blue-green algae store in them nitrogen compounds made by nitrogen fixation, they are used as fertilizer in agriculture. The addition of blue-green algae to barren fields increases the nitrogen content of the soil and makes it fertile. Rhizobium bacteria present in the root nodules of leguminous plants, like peas, beans, etc., also fix atmospheric nitrogen and increase soil fertility. Cleaning the environment. Some microorganisms, like certain bacteria and fungi, decompose the organic matter present in dead plants, dead animals and animal wastes, and convert them into simple substances which mix up the soil. These simple substances contain plant nutrients which are again used by new plants for their growth. Since microorganisms decompose the harmful and smelly dead remains of plants and animal wastes, like feces, dung, urine, etc., into harmless materials, they clean the environment. If, however, there were no microorganisms, called decomposers, in the soil, then the dead plants, dead animals and animal wastes would keep on piling up in the environment and make it dirty. In addition to cleaning the environment, the microorganisms also help in recycling the nutrients present in dead plants, dead animals, and animal wastes in nature, which can then be used as food by green plants. If there were no microorganisms, called decomposers, then the nutrients present in dead plants, dead animal wastes would never be released for use by new plants. Activity 2.5. To show that some microorganisms decompose waste plant materials and convert them into useful manure. Take 2 flower pots and mark them A and B. Fill each flower pot half with soil. Take some plant waste such as fruit and vegetable peels, fallen leaves, etc., and bury them in soil in pot A. Bury a polythene bag, an empty glass bottle, and a broken plastic toy in the soil in pot B. Keep both the pots aside for 3 to 4 weeks. If we now observe the pot A, we will find that the plant wastes buried in it have been decomposed. The plant wastes, fruit and vegetable peels, fallen leaves, etc., have been decomposed by the action of microorganisms present in the soil and converted into manure. This manure contains the nutrients released from plant wastes. These nutrients can be used for growing new plants. If, however, we look at the pot B, we will find that the polythene bag, glass bottle, and plastic toy did not get decomposed and remained as such. This is because the microorganisms present in soil are not able to decompose polythene bag, glass, and plastic, convert them into manure. The microorganisms present in soil can decompose only the organic matter present in dead plants, dead animals, and animal wastes, etc. Disease-causing microorganisms in human beings. We know that disease-causing microorganisms, or pathogens, enter our body through the air we breathe, the water we drink, or the food we eat. The disease-causing microorganisms can also get transmitted by direct contact with an infected person or carried through an insect or other animal. When pathogens, such as bacteria, viruses, protozoa, fungi, etc., enter our body, they cause diseases. A person who has disease-causing microorganisms or microbes in his body is said to be an infected person. Those microbial diseases which can spread from an infected person to a healthy person through air, water, food, or physical contact, etc., are called communicable diseases. Incommunicable diseases, the disease-causing germs or infection, get transmitted from a human being, an animal, or the environment to another human being. Some of the examples of communicable diseases are common cold, cholera, chickenpox, tuberculosis, TB, malaria, and AIDS. For example, the disease called common cold spreads by breathing air containing microorganisms. The disease common cold is caused by a virus. A person suffering from common cold is infected with common cold virus. When the person suffering from common cold sneezes, fine droplets of moisture carrying thousands of common cold viruses are spread in the air around him or her. When a healthy person breathes in this contaminated air containing common cold virus, the virus enters his body and he also gets common cold disease. The communicable diseases can occur and spread in the following ways. 1. By breathing of air containing microorganisms. 2. By taking infected food or water. 3. Through insect bites, such as mosquitoes' bites. 4. By sharing infected injection needles. 5. By physical contact with an infected person. 6. By using articles of an infected person such as towel, clothes, and bed, utensils, etc. For example, the common cold disease spreads by breathing air containing microorganisms. The disease called cholera spreads by taking infected food or water. The disease called malaria spreads through insect bites, mosquito bites, and the disease called AIDS spreads by sharing infected injection needles or through physical contact, sexual contact, with an infected person. Prevention of communicable diseases. Some of the methods for preventing the occurrence and spreading of communicable diseases are as follow. 1. A person suffering from common cold should always cover his mouth and nose with a handkerchief while sneezing, so that microorganisms do not get into the air. We should also keep a safe distance from a person having common cold. 2. We should keep our food covered to protect it from getting infected by flies. We should also drink clean and safe water. 3. We should avoid physical contact with an infected person, and not use his towel, clothes or bed. The towel, clothes and utensils used by an infected person should be washed and cleaned separately with soap and hot water. 4. We should protect ourselves from mosquitoes' bites by using mosquito nets over our beds while sleeping, by putting fine wire mesh on doors and windows, or by using mosquito repellent creams and devices. 5. We should make sure that only disposable syringes and needles are used for giving us injections. 6. Some of the diseases can be prevented by vaccination at proper time. Carriers of disease-causing microorganisms. The insect, or any other animal, which transmits disease-causing microorganisms to humans, without itself suffering from them, is called a carrier. There are some insects in our environment which transfer disease-causing microbes into our body, either by contaminating our food or by biting into our body, and spread diseases. The two most common insects which carry disease-causing microorganisms, microbes or pathogens, are the housefly and mosquito. We can now say that there are some insects which act as carriers of disease-causing microorganisms. The two most common carriers of diseases-causing microorganisms, or microbes, are I. Housefly, and 2. Mosquito. We will now describe the role of houseflies and mosquitoes in spreading diseases. The houseflies breed and feed in filthy places, in sanitary places, which contain a lot of disease-causing microorganisms, microbes or pathogens, and the mosquitoes breed in pools of stagnant water. Diseases caused by housefly. The houseflies lay eggs on garbage dumps. So, they breed on filth and refuse, kachra. The houseflies feed on garbage, animal excreta, dead organic matter and exposed or uncovered human food. The body and legs of housefly bear a lot of fine hair. When the housefly sits on a garbage heap, human excreta or other filth and refuse, then millions of disease-causing microorganisms, like bacteria, present in them stick to the hairy legs and other body parts of the housefly. See figure 1. And when this housefly now sits on our uncovered food, then the microorganisms sticking to the hair on its legs and other body parts are transferred to food. See figure 2. In this way our food gets contaminated with disease-causing microorganisms. When this contaminated food is consumed by a person, then the disease-causing microorganisms enter into his body and cause various diseases. The person gets sick. Thus, the housefly carries disease-causing microorganisms or germs on the hair of its legs and other body parts. It is the habit of housefly of sitting on garbage and human food alternately which is responsible for the transmission of microorganisms to our body and causing diseases. Some of the dangerous diseases spread by houseflies are cholera, tuberculosis, TB, typhoid and diarrhea. 1. Garbage heap, excreta, etc. This contains microbes like bacteria. 2. Uncovered food. The housefly drop microbes like bacteria in this food. Houseflies carrying microbes, like bacteria. Garbage heap uncovered food diagram to show how houseflies transfer microbes, like bacteria, from dirty places like garbage heaps to uncovered food and cause diseases. Prevention. The spreading of diseases by houseflies can be prevented in the following ways. 1. The food should always be kept covered so that flies cannot sit on it. 2. We should not leave household garbage here and there. The garbage should be put in the garbage bins which should be kept covered. This will prevent the house flies from breeding because they will not be able to lay their eggs on garbage. 3. We should avoid eating uncovered food items from the roadside stalls. 4. The flies should be killed by using insecticide spray and baits. 5. Some of the diseases spread by houseflies can be prevented by vaccination. Diseases caused by mosquitoes. Mosquito is another insect which spreads diseases by transmitting disease-causing microorganisms or microbes. Mosquito acts as a carrier of disease-causing microorganisms and spreads diseases from one person to another. The housefly carries the disease-causing microbes on the hair, outside its body, but the mosquito carries microbes inside its body. Mosquitoes breed in stagnant water of ponds, dirty drains, pools, ditches, and shallow lakes, etc. The most common disease spread by mosquitoes is malaria. Actually, it is the female Anopheles mosquito which carries the parasite of malaria. The malarial parasite, called Plasmodium, causes malaria disease. It is called a parasite because it lives on the blood of a person as its food on entering his body. The female Anopheles mosquito spreads malaria disease in the following ways. 1. When a female Anopheles mosquito bites a person suffering from malaria disease, it sucks the blood of that person which contains the malarial parasite microbes. Malarial parasite is a protozoan called Plasmodium. 2. This infected Anopheles mosquito now bites a healthy person to suck his blood and it transfers the malarial parasite microbes into his bloodstream along with saliva. 3. By receiving malarial parasite microbes in blood, the healthy person also gets malaria disease. Note that only the female Anopheles mosquito sucks blood, so only the female Anopheles mosquito carries malarial parasite and spreads malaria. The male Anopheles mosquito does not suck blood of a person and hence does not spread malaria disease. Another disease spread by mosquitoes is dengue. Dengue is caused by a virus. The female Aedes mosquito acts as a carrier of dengue virus and spreads the dengue disease from person to person. Prevention. We can prevent, or control, the spreading of diseases like malaria and dengue caused by mosquitoes in the following ways. 1. All the mosquitoes breed in water. So, the pools of stagnant water around the houses should be drained out so that mosquitoes may not breed in them. We should not let water collect in coolers, tiles, flower pots, etc. By keeping our surroundings clean and dry, we can prevent mosquitoes from breeding. 2. Mosquito net should be used over beds while sleeping to prevent mosquito bites. 3. The windows and doors of the house should have fine iron wire mesh so that mosquitoes cannot enter the house. 4. Insecticides should be sprayed in houses periodically to kill mosquitoes. 5. Oil should be sprayed on the surface of water in dirty water drains to kill the larvae of mosquitoes. 6. Mosquito repellent cream should be applied on the exposed parts of the body before sleeping at night. Mosquito repellent devices can also be used. Note that the microorganism which causes a disease is known as causative microorganism of that disease. For example, tuberculosis disease is caused by bacteria, so the causative microorganisms of tuberculosis are bacteria. Disease-causing microorganisms in animals. Just like human beings, several microorganisms cause diseases in other animals, such as cow, buffalo, sheep, goat and poultry birds. Some of the examples of diseases caused in animals by the microorganisms, or microbes, are foot and mouth disease, anthrax and aspergillosis. 1. Foot and mouth disease of animals, like cattle, is caused by a virus. Thus, foot and mouth disease is a viral disease of animals. The causative microorganism of foot and mouth disease is virus. The cattle suffering from this disease get blisters on feet and mouth. 2. Anthrax is a dangerous disease of animals, like cattle, which is caused by a bacterium. Thus, Anthrax disease is a bacterial disease of animals. The causative microorganism of anthrax disease is a bacterium known as Bacillus anthracis. The bacterium Bacillus anthracis, which causes anthrax disease in animals, was discovered by Robert Koch in 1876. 3. Aspergillosis is a disease of animals, like poultry birds, which is caused by a fungus. Thus, aspergillosis is a fungal disease of animals. The causative microorganism of aspergillosis disease is a fungus. Disease-causing microorganisms in plants. Just like human beings and other animals, microorganisms also cause diseases in plants. For example, several microorganisms, or microbes, cause diseases in plants like wheat, rice, potato, sugarcane, orange, apple, and others. Some of the common plant diseases caused by microorganisms are rust of wheat, citrus canker, and yellow vein mosaic of bhindi, okra. 1. The plant disease called rust of wheat is caused by fungi. Thus, the causative microorganism of rust of wheat disease is fungus. The rust of wheat disease is transmitted through air and seeds. This means that the modes of transmission of the rust of wheat disease are air and seeds. As the name suggests, the rust of wheat disease occurs in wheat plants. 2. The plant disease called citrus canker is caused by bacteria. So, the causative microorganisms of citrus canker disease are bacteria. The citrus canker disease is transmitted through air. This means that the mode of transmission of citrus canker disease of plants is air. As the name suggests, the citrus canker disease occurs in citrus trees such as those of lemon, lime, orange, etc. 3. The plant disease called yellow vein mosaic of bhindi, or okra, is caused by a virus. So, the causative microorganism of this plant disease is virus. The yellow vein mosaic of bhindi disease is transmitted through insects. Thus, the mode of transmission of yellow vein mosaic of bhindi disease is insect. The diseases of plants caused by microorganisms reduce the yield and quality of various crops. The plant diseases can be controlled by the use of certain chemicals which kill the disease-causing microorganisms, or insects. Nitrogen fixation. We know that our atmosphere contains a lot of nitrogen gas. In fact, our atmosphere has 78% nitrogen gas. The atmospheric nitrogen gas cannot be utilized directly by the plants or animals. In order that the nitrogen gas of atmosphere can be utilized by plants for their growth, it has first to be converted into nitrogen compounds, which can be absorbed by the roots of the plants. The process of converting nitrogen gas of atmosphere, or air, into compounds of nitrogen, which can be used by the plants, is called nitrogen fixation. The nitrogen gas is the free nitrogen, whereas nitrogen compounds, like nitrates, are said to be fixed nitrogen. The nitrogen gas of atmosphere, or air, can be fixed, converted into nitrogen compounds, by certain nitrogen-fixing bacteria present in the soil, 2. By rhizobium bacteria present in the root nodules of leguminous plants, 3. By blue-green algae, and 4. By lightning. The nitrogen-fixing rhizobium bacteria live in the root nodules of leguminous plants, such as peas, beans, etc. Rhizobium bacteria have symbiotic relationship with leguminous plants. Thus, some nitrogen-fixing bacteria live freely in the soil, whereas other nitrogen-fixing bacteria, rhizobium bacteria, live in the root nodules of leguminous plants. Nitrogen gas of atmosphere also gets fixed through the action of lightning in the sky. When lightning takes place in the sky during thunderstorm, a high temperature is produced in the atmosphere. At this high temperature, nitrogen gas of air combines with oxygen gas of air to form nitrogen compounds. These nitrogen compounds dissolve in rainwater, fall to earth with rainwater, and go into the soil. Nitrogen of atmosphere can also be fixed by artificial methods. We will study the artificial fixation of nitrogen in higher classes. The nodules on the roots of this pea plant, a leguminous plant, contain nitrogen-fixing rhizobium bacteria which convert nitrogen gas of air into nitrogen compounds. Nitrogen cycle. We have already read that nitrogen is required by both plants and animals for their growth and development. Nitrogen is an essential component of proteins which make up the bodies of plants and animals. Nitrogen is also present in chlorophyll, nucleic acids and vitamins. The same nitrogen element is circulated again and again through living things, like plants and animals, and non-living things, like air, soil and water. The circulation of nitrogen element through living things, plants and animals, and non-living environment, air, soil and water, is called nitrogen cycle in nature. A labeled diagram of nitrogen cycle in nature is given in figure below. Nitrogen cycle in nature. Atmospheric nitrogen gas. Compounds of nitrogen in soil. Denitrifying bacteria decompose some compounds of nitrogen into nitrogen gas. Nitrogen fixing. Bacteria, blue-green algae and lightning fix atmospheric nitrogen. Bacteria and fungi, decomposes. Plant. Animals, death, decay, excretions. Absorbed by roots of plants. The main steps in the nitrogen cycle in nature are as follows. 1. The atmosphere, or air, contains nitrogen gas. The nitrogen-fixing bacteria, present in the soil and in the root nodules of leguminous plants, blue-green algae and lightning in the sky fix nitrogen gas from the atmosphere and convert it into compounds of nitrogen which go into soil. 2. The plants take compounds of nitrogen from the soil for their growth. The plants absorb the nitrogen compounds from the soil through their roots. The plants convert the compounds of nitrogen into plant proteins and other organic compounds which make up the body of plants. 3. The plants are eaten up by animals as food. Animals convert plant proteins into animal proteins and other organic compounds which make up their body. Some animals also eat other animals to obtain nitrogen compounds. Thus, animals obtain nitrogen compounds by eating plants as well as other animals. 4. When plants and animals die, the complex nitrogen compounds, like proteins, etc., present in their dead bodies are decomposed and converted into simple compounds of nitrogen by certain bacteria and fungi present in the soil. Animal excretions, urine, etc., are also converted into simple compounds of nitrogen. All the simple compounds of nitrogen formed in this way go into the soil. In this way, compounds of nitrogen which were taken by the plants from the soil during their growth are returned to the soil. From the soil, these nitrogen compounds are again absorbed by the new plants for their growth, and this part of nitrogen cycle is repeated endlessly. 5. Some of the compounds of nitrogen, formed from the decay of dead plants and animals, are decomposed by denitrifying bacteria present in the soil to form nitrogen gas. This nitrogen gas goes back into the atmosphere, from where it initially came. This process is the reverse of fixation of nitrogen. In this way, the nitrogen gas which was removed from the atmosphere during fixation is put back into the atmosphere. From the atmosphere, nitrogen gas is used again during nitrogen fixation, and the nitrogen cycle is repeated in nature again and again. As a result of nitrogen cycle in nature, the percentage of nitrogen gas in the atmosphere, or air, remains constant. Keywords. Algae, a group of tiny plant-like organisms having chlorophyll. Bacteria, a group of single-celled microorganisms. Cilia, small hair-like structures found on the surface of microorganisms. Flagella, whip-like structures in microorganisms. Fungi, a group of non-green plant-like organisms. Molds, a group of fungi, multicellular. Virus, a group of disease-causing microorganisms. Pasteurization, a method of milk preservation. Aspergillosis, an animal disease caused by a fungus. Citrus canker, a plant disease caused by bacteria. Summary: the organisms that are small and can be seen only through a microscope are called microorganisms or microbes. They are present all around us and also inside our bodies. Microorganisms belong to 5 major groups, i.e. bacteria, algae, protozoa, fungi and viruses. Bacteria are celled single organisms with no nucleus. They may be rod-shaped, spherical or spiral. They reproduce by binary fission. Bacteria are useful to us in several ways. They decompose the dead organisms and waste, provide nitrates to plants, help some animals digest cellulose, give flavor to certain foods, and are also useful in industry and in making medicines. Harmful bacteria spoil food and cause diseases in human beings, animals and plants. Algae are simple plant-like organisms with chlorophyll in their cells. They may be unicellular or multicellular. Overgrowth of algae in water kills aquatic organisms. Algae are used in food and industry. They provide us with oxygen and plants with nitrates. The protozoa are unicellular animal-like organisms. Some protozoa cause diseases in humans. Fungi are plant-like organisms that do not contain chlorophyll. They may be unicellular or multicellular. Yeasts, mildews, molds, mushrooms are kinds of fungi. They are unicellular. Yeast is used in food industry to make alcoholic beverages. Fungi give us medicines also. They also help us by decomposing dead plants and animals. Some fungi spoil food and cause diseases. Viruses are very small and do not have a cellular structure. Viruses cause many diseases in plants, animals and human beings. Some of the nitrogen compounds which are formed from the decay of dead plants and animals are decomposed by denitrifying bacteria present in the soil to form nitrogen gas. This nitrogen gas goes back into the atmosphere from where it initially came.